Welcome back to Get Well Acadiana with Dr. Kevin. I'm the Senior Vice President of the Bryant Wellness Institutes. I'm so glad you're joining us here. I'm here with my co-host, Brandon Como. Brandon, I'm going to start calling you the hardest working man in radio.
Thank you.
Brandon's everywhere. He has his own show called Offsides. It's at 4 o'clock every day, and he's on Moon's show. And Brandon, you're just everywhere.
Well, thank you so much. Well, and look, I want to say this. For the past couple months here that we've gotten to do the show, that I've gotten to sit here and listen to all of this great information. I've learned something new each week. So for anyone that's just tuning in, you're really in for a treat.
Oh, great. I appreciate you saying that. And we're going to shift gears today. And I wanted to talk about an issue that I consider the problem of our generation. And this is something that we all need to pay attention to. And this is becoming a real serious issue for many people. And the bad thing is they don't even realize that they have this going on in their body. And this is autoimmune disease. Now, for most people, when you say autoimmune disease, they think of this like rare thing that someone else has that, is a super rare. Autoimmune disease to them doesn't really hit home. And most people don't realize what that means when we say autoimmune disease. But guys, listen, you may have this going on inside your body. This is a real problem that's developing in many, many patients that we find. Autoimmune diseases are something that we all want to pay attention to. And so what we're finding is that many disease and health problems and conditions, even if you don't have a named disease, but your health, you just feel like it could be better, and you don't have a direct autoimmune diagnosis, you may have a secondary autoimmune component to you losing your health. So you may not have been diagnosed with Hashimoto's disease or Crohn's or rheumatoid or lupus or MS, but you may have a secondary autoimmune component that's causing you to have chronic digestive issues or chronic fatigue syndrome or some of these other, fibromyalgia, some of these other less disease processes or health conditions that aren't named a direct autoimmune disease. You may have a hidden autoimmune component to it. And we're finding that more and more in health conditions whenever we look at them today. So if you have a chronic disease of any type or any kind of a metabolic problem, you may very well have one of these secondary autoimmune components to your health problems. Now, I will never buy into this, this just happened to me kind of theory, or my doctor said, this just happened to me and there's no known cause. I promise you, you're not just unlucky and like drew the short straw or something and you have to live with these problems. Diseases occur for a reason. Your thyroid doesn't just quit working because, it went on vacation or something. Your organs don't just stop working. Your autoimmune diseases aren't just accidental. You have specific reasons your body is doing what it's doing. And so it's just that no one has sit down with you and figured all of this out yet. Autoimmune disease is now the fastest growing epidemic in our country. There's now 188 known autoimmune diagnoses that are classified and growing. And here's the other thing. There's 188 known autoimmune diseases, but there's a lot more of this secondary autoimmunity going on. I mean, a lot more, probably 10 times that much, that people don't even know that's going on inside their body. Things like endometriosis, autism, fibromyalgia, and cancer all have some sort of a secondary autoimmune component to them. So just because your doctor told you that your condition wasn't autoimmune doesn't mean that your loss of health isn't have some kind of a secondary autoimmune component to it. And we need to take a look at that. There's this thought process in traditional medicine that there's no known cause for many of these things. My doctor said my thyroid quit working. Well, did he find out why? Well, no, he said it just happened that way, or that it's genetic. If it were genetic, it would have been from birth. So if this was something that was in your genes that you have to live with, you would have been born with it. I'll give you an example, like Down syndrome. That's genetic. That's a genetic problem that you have from the time you're born. So if you have nothing until you're 35 and then something comes up and you're told that's genetic, that doesn't make sense to me. That gene turned itself on. That's environmental. So I'm here to tell you that there are known causes for your disease processes. It's just no one has sat down and figured this out with you yet. But this takes a lot of work. This is complex. The human body is complicated. You can't figure all of this out in a 3-minute office visit. Figuring out your underlying cause and solving it takes a lot of work and knowledge about your body and the way your body functions and the disease processes itself. The reality of this is there are specific causes for every one of your health conditions. You're not just unlucky and have lupus or fibromyalgia or rheumatoid arthritis. That's not how the body works. And I don't think that really makes sense to you either. So since we now know that many diseases have an autoimmune component to them, we look to the underlying causes. And the truth is, it's never just one cause. There's a series of co-causes, a lot of different cofactors and co-causes that come together that will cause a chronic disease in your body. That's what we find whenever we look at this. So if you have 4 different co-causes that's happened to you, and each one of them is affecting or adding 25% to that disease, so you get 4 of those and each one of them contributes 25%, now you have 100% of that disease or that condition. It's kind of like an airplane crash. You know, Brandon, when an airplane crashes, it's never because one system failed. It's because multiple failures happened. The backup system failed and the human didn't catch it. And then the second human didn't catch that the first human had failed to find that. So when an airplane crashes, it takes multiple systems, multiple things fail backed up over and over until finally the airplane goes down. You know, enough systems crash that the airplane finally goes down. And your body is exactly like this. If you stack enough bad conditions and failures of backup systems together, your body gets overwhelmed and it can't deal with it, and the whole system collapses. And finally, you end up with a chronic disease like diabetes or Hashimoto's or fibromyalgia. You know, the body works exactly like that airplane. Our bodies are under assault like never before in our history. We live in the most toxic world ever in the history of humans. We have more stress ever in the history of humans. We have more physical impacts, more physical damage to our body from car accidents and sports and, computer screens and everything than ever before. We have more harmful electromagnetic fields than ever before. You know, speaking of computer screens, we have a computer screen 2 feet from our face every day, all day at work. We have cell phones by our head at night. All of this is kind of like that airplane, multiple things adding up and adding to why we're the most unhealthy that we've ever been in the history since we've been tracking this. So there's a lot to look into. The body is very complex, and that's what makes this extremely complicated to look into. That's why nobody's ever found the cause of your health condition yet, is because it's complicated. You got to take time to sit down and look at this. But if we can begin to find all of these co-causes and we can eliminate and start to solve these co-conditions and these co-causes one by one, now we're in the game of how we get something like this better. And that's what today's show is all about. What are some of these co-causes to your health condition? What are some of these moving parts that we find, these underlying things that are causing these autoimmune disease processes and these chronic metabolic conditions in their body? Like, why are these happening? So today I have a few of these co-causes that I'm going to go over with you, things that we look for whenever we look at a patient that wishes to improve their health. So even if you don't have a diagnosis of what's wrong with you yet, then these are a few of the things that we will check to see what may be causing your problem. Now, obviously today we're going to have to go through these things one by one, and we literally check thousands of things to see if we can develop a picture of why a patient's body is developing a disease process. So I don't have time to go into all of them, but we're going to handle some of the big ones today. And then we begin to sit down and develop a plan to reverse this downward spiral of disease in your body. We develop a comprehensive strategy to determine what's going on with your health, why your health has begun to fail, and then we can devise a plan in order to solve it. So if you've ever felt like your health was just sort of out of control, then you need to stay tuned, because our program at Bright Wellness is all about giving you control back of your health and body. My professional reason for existing, the reason that I wake up and go to work and put on scrubs and go to work every day, is because my purpose is to try to give you back control of your health. And that's why I named this show Get Well Acadiana. And I truly appreciate you listening. So today's show, we're going to explain a lot about why you don't feel your best, why you don't have the energy that you used to, why you're developing worse and worse health problems, and no one has been able to look or find the underlying causes or co-causes of your problems. So stay tuned, and we're going to get into the why. And we keep asking the why until we boil it down to its finest point. Well, my TSH is low. Why? Well, because my thyroid quit working. Why? Well, just because. No, not just because. Why? Well, nobody's found that out. That why that nobody has answered, that's where the solutions are. Well, my doctor told me I have diabetes. Well, why? Well, we don't know. Well, that's where the solution lies. Or I had a heart attack. Why? Well, because my arteries were clogged. Why? Well, because I ate too many hamburgers. Nope. Lots of people ate hamburgers. They didn't get a heart attack. Why? So we have this tendency to point to something outside of our body as to say why. Well, I have allergies. Why? Well, it's because of that grass over there. Well, no, it's not. If it were because of the grass, every human would have it. I can go in grass and I'm not allergic to it. It doesn't make sense to me why a human could be allergic to grass. So it's not the grass's fault. There's something inside your body. But people have a tendency to want to take their health problem and put it behind their back and say, it's not me. It's that thing over there. It's that cat. It's that tree. It's that hamburger. No, it's not. Lots of people are exposed to that stuff. They don't have what you have. It's something inside your body. So we keep asking the why until we reach the point to where we can say, aha, I get why this actually happened now in my body. I get to why this system finally failed. Why did the airplane finally crash? That's where solutions lie. That's where healing begins. And that's what our program does. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the show. Thank you for listening to Get Well Acadiana with Dr. Kevin. And we're discussing autoimmune diseases today and the fact that many people may have an autoimmune component to their loss of health that is secondary, but may not be a named autoimmune disease, but they may still have some autoimmunity going on affecting their health. Things like severe digestive issues that can't be figured out, things like, chronic fatigue that they can't figure out as to the why. If you have a condition and your doctor kind of like they can't be figured out the underlying reason, like it's just you've been to doctor after doctor after doctor and you've never gotten a good explanation to why you're suffering with this or what's going on, more than likely there's an autoimmune condition going on underlying that has not been caught yet. An example is like fibromyalgia. Fibromyalgia is such what we call a wastebasket diagnosis. That means that I'm not saying fibromyalgia, like for those fibromyalgia sufferers, I'm not saying you don't have something wrong with you, but I'm saying that fibromyalgia just means we've done all the tests, we can't figure out why, so we're just going to call it fibromyalgia. So whenever they say, well, why does that happen? Well, we don't know. Well, did they even look for the why? Not really. They just said I had fibromyalgia and that's all they could figure out. So my philosophy is there are underlying reasons why your body is doing what it's doing. We need to pin this down and develop a comprehensive strategy to resolve it. That's what my program is all about, is the why. We keep asking why until we get to the underlying cellular process that's failing. And by beating the disease, in order to beat the disease, you have to get to the underlying why, and then we can begin to take back control. They're really good at telling you the what. They'll spend $50,000 in diagnostics to tell you what you have, but not very good at telling you the why. Solutions lie in the why, and not an excuse why, not, well, it's just the way it is why, or you were born with it why, but the actual reason of why it's occurring in your body. So let's get into that today. So what is autoimmunity? Autoimmune disease means that your immune system is attacking your own body. It's attacking you. Your body's immune system literally starts to kill your own regular cells. So it gets confused for whatever reason. We're going to get into that in a little bit later on the show as to why it gets confused, but it gets confused and begins to create this attacking mechanism against your body, which destroys and damages your own tissue. So make no mistake about it. When you have an active autoimmune disease, your immune system is destroying and killing your body inside from the inside out. It's a big deal. So from the inside out, your body is destroying itself. Think of it like termites in your house. Your body's own immune system is literally eating its way through the inside, from the inside out. And so many times you don't know this is going on until you pin this down and figure out really the underlying reasons this is going on. So how do we diagnose this? Well, one way we diagnose this is we look at the antibodies on blood work as to what tissue is being damaged. And sometimes this doesn't show up on blood work, so we use other tests as well. But on your blood work, we look for antibodies showing that your body is attacking certain tissue. Now, many times, unfortunately, the reason this goes undiagnosed is because a lot of times this is like looking for a needle in a haystack. You know, there's lots of different tissues that your system can attack. And most of the time what I find when people say, well, my doctor checked me and said it wasn't autoimmune, they check for lupus and rheumatoid and nothing showed up. Remember, there are 188 autoimmune diseases in your body. That's checking for 2 of them. They didn't check for all the other 186 possibilities that it could be. And the thing is, there's way more than even the 186 left that it could be. So there's a lot that wasn't looked at. And there's a lot more to autoimmunity than just lupus and rheumatoid. But that's the 2 they check for. And then they rule out, no, it's not autoimmune. But like I said earlier, if you have something confusing going on in your body that nobody's been able to pin down, many times we find that there's an autoimmune component for it. So we always look at all of the available autoimmune markers, which are typically not tested by just traditional healthcare. But these markers tell you whether or not there's something in your system that's making your immune system overreact and get madder and madder, and it keeps killing and killing, and it doesn't turn back off. So imagine whenever you get a cold and your immune system turns on and it goes and kills that cold, and then it turns itself back off. Well, in autoimmunity, something has turned your immune system on, and it gets madder and madder and keeps killing and killing, and it never is able to turn back off. Remember, your immune system are the killer cells of your body. They kill things. Now, we want them to kill the right things. Killing the bad bacteria, for example, is a very good thing. So your immune system is kind of like the SEAL team of your body. It seeks out and kills the bad guys inside your body. Now, in autoimmune disease, it's like that you sent the SEAL team out and you gave them the picture of the bad guy to go kill, but you gave them the wrong picture. Instead of the bad guys, maybe you gave them, some other picture instead. So that's not a good thing to do. Our killer cells are running around with the wrong guy they're looking for, and that's not a good thing to have. So if that wrong picture they have is your thyroid cells, you end up with Hashimoto's. If it's your joints, you end up with rheumatoid. If it's your soft tissue, you end up with lupus. Now, the naming of autoimmune disease is a big deal because when people say, well, I have lupus or Hashimoto's, understand all that name is identifying the tissue that the immune system is killing. In multiple sclerosis, it's killing the nerves. In lupus, it's killing the connective tissue, meaning like the ligaments. In rheumatoid, it's your joints. In Hashimoto's, it's your thyroid. But at the end of the day, the culprit, the underlying factor that brings all of these things together is that your immune system is confused and it's attacking its own body. So I want you to think of this like the tissue that it's killing is the victim, like in a crime. We don't blame the victim. It's not the victim's fault. In Hashimoto's, the immune system is attacking the thyroid. So that's not a thyroid problem. So when patients come in and they say, oh, I have a thyroid problem. Well, what is it? Well, I have Hashimoto's, autoimmune disease. That's not a thyroid problem. That's an immune system problem. So the treatment with this lies in, let's see why the immune system is malfunctioning. Treating the thyroid is like blaming the victim. It's not ever getting to the underlying issue. So to say I have a thyroid problem, well, that's blaming the wrong thing. The immune system is killing the thyroid, and that's where we begin to look. So we're not even looking at the correct body system in traditional medicine to treat some of these things. So we have to look at the immune system to see why it is malfunctioning. So here's the other problem. 50% of the time, someone has one active autoimmune disease going on in their body. There's another active autoimmune reaction happening somewhere else that they don't even know is happening. So once your immune system starts to kill one tissue, it's not too big of a stretch for it to turn and start killing something else and then killing another part of your tissue. So many times people have more than one tissue being killed at the same time. So the other thing that gets me is many times patients tell me that they went to the doctor and found something abnormal, and the doctor says, well, we'll just watch it. Then when it gets bad enough, we'll just do something about it. Well, you know it's there. And if it's there, it's doing damage in the body. So why don't we get this thing early? Let's start to figure out why this is happening instead of just watching these things until it becomes such a big problem that you have to take these radical treatment measures. No, when something starts to occur, let's get to the underlying root of it as quickly as possible. So in the medical world, the standard protocol for everyone with autoimmune problem is to suppress the immune system. So they're going to give you medication that's going to lower your immune response. These immunosuppressant drugs. Now that works in the short term, and that works really well. Don't get me wrong, like that will stop autoimmune disease from occurring. But in long-term methodology, you can't suppress your immune system forever. You need your immune system on your side. That's what's going to keep you healthy and eventually keep you from dying. Now, the other thing I see people tell me all the time is, well, I did lab work and the doctor said everything looks normal. By the way, if you get labs, always request to see the labs. Always leave with a copy of that. Always make it a point to request your labs and take a look at them yourself, because what we find is that you will have abnormal findings on your lab work. It's just that it's not quite bad enough for them to qualify you as a diagnosis and put a code on it in their computer and send that in as that you're diagnosed with, say, Hashimoto's. So you might be 2 or 3 points under the marker that required to diagnose you as Hashimoto's. But if, let's say, you have 60% of those antibodies for Hashimoto's, but it's not bad enough to label you as that, that doesn't mean that you're not already have an autoimmune disease occurring, and that's something that we need to take a look at. So we look at different levels. We look at functional markers on your labs, meaning we don't look at it as black and white. We want to see the gray areas on your lab work. So always request your labs and always take a look at those for functional ranges, not just medical ranges. So the lab work has these huge variations that they call normal. So normal TSH might be from 0.3 all the way to 4.4. So what they're saying is 0.30, you're fine. But if you're 0.29, now you have a disease. That does not make sense to me. We use optimal ranges, meaning we take a real common sense approach to looking at this and not so black and white on labs. You know, you can have bad lab markers that don't fit into their box as abnormal, but still, as a functional medicine doctor, still gives us a lot of information that we can determine why your cells are doing what they're doing and how we can get them to behave differently. So you're listening to Get Well Acadiana with Dr. Kevin, Senior Vice President of the Bryant Wellness Institutes. If you're wondering if these new ideas and methods might help you finally solve your health problems, why don't you come in and sit down with me and let's discuss how my program might be right for you. If at any time you feel like I can't help you, I won't waste your time. But if I can piece together why your cells have started to malfunction, and then we can find a comprehensive strategy, a pathway to correcting them, then maybe you can finally reach your health goals. And if you give me a call, I will call you back personally next week and discuss this with you on the phone. So if you want to call 837-7174, and you can finally begin to take back control of your health. Leave your name and number on my machine. Obviously, it's Saturday. I'm not at the office, but I will call you personally Monday when I get back to the office, and we can speak about your health conditions, and I'll tell you if I think it's worth your time to come in and sit down with me. So call 837-7174. That's 837-7174. And so we'll be right back about how autoimmune diseases occur in the first place. Welcome back to Get Well Acadiana with Dr. Kevin. I'm the Senior Vice President of the Bryant Wellness Institutes, Louisiana's most advanced functional medicine institutes. I'd like for you to join us on our Facebook page at the Bryant Wellness Institutes. You know, we're always having conversations about these things. I do a live show Thursdays at noon where you can join in the conversation. So go like our Facebook page right now. We have tons of good information on there. I'm constantly posting different recipes and healthy items. And so super interesting Facebook page to go join. Now, let's talk about the why. You know, up until now, I hope that you've learned that there's a good chance that you or someone that you love has these autoimmune conditions occurring, if not primary, then secondary, and that the current treatment or the current philosophy of the way we're dealing with these things really has room for improvement, basically. Now, let's get to the why. Why are some of these autoimmune problems occurring? So you remember I said there's several co-causes to some of these chronic diseases. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to give you a few of the top co-causes that we find about what is making your immune system so mad. Basically, something gets into your body that your immune system doesn't recognize. Either it's too big to kill, it's an inanimate object, or it's in a place where your immune system can't get to it. So the immune system gets madder and madder and madder. So remember that as we go along. It doesn't recognize it. It's either too big to kill, it's an inanimate object, or it's in a place where your immune system can't get to it. So keep that in mind. Now, something causes confusion or overreaction of the immune system, and this reaction begins to run out of control, and it gets madder and madder, and it starts killing and killing and killing, and pretty soon it's destroying your body from the inside out. We have to identify what that is and get it out, because without removal of the source of what's driving the immune system to be so mad to begin with, the body will never stop. So here are some of your basic culprits: toxins, infections, food allergies, leaky gut, hormones, and genetics. That's a pretty small list, and we're going to dive into all of that we have time for today, but we're kind of oversimplifying this so that we don't get this too complicated, but we're going to go into each one of these briefly now and explain how we deal with each one of these. Now, if something toxic gets into your system and that your body is going to react to it, but that your body can't get rid of. Now, unfortunately, we live in a polluted world, and I've been talking about this over and over. I talk about this every week, so I'm not going to get into a whole lot of details of this, but you guys have learned by now, if you listen to this show, we live in a very toxic environment. You know, the average American now eats 14 pounds of toxic chemicals every year, year after year after year. These chemicals cause our immune system to get confused, and it run rampant, and I've been over this. So I wanted to bring a new one to the show today, and that is heavy metals. This is a huge problem, probably becoming the epidemic of our time. I'm going to tell you easily 60% of the people who walk into my clinic, no matter what they have going on, we find heavy metals affecting their health. Now, where does this come from? What heavy metals are we talking about? The heavy metals we're basically talking about is mercury, cadmium, arsenic, iron ore. There's several others. But mercury is the one that gets all the publicity. So let me just talk about mercury, because that's one of the big ones. You know, I had a patient the other day that had so much mercury in their system that the lab actually had to report it to the state of Louisiana, and the state of Louisiana sent me documentation as to why their mercury levels was so high. That's how much mercury we have in Louisiana. And so where does this mercury come from? Well, several places. One is fish. You know, if we lived in California, everywhere that served fish has to have a plaque on the wall that says, if you eat fish, you have a chance of getting mercury poisoning from it. Vaccinations is another place, especially the flu vaccination has a lot of mercury, 25 micrograms of ethyl mercury. That's the type that goes directly to your brain. Dental fillings is a huge one. It's a big deal. You know, they call them silver fillings, but the truth is they're almost 50% mercury. Now, the International Academy of Oral Medicine and Toxicology ran tests on mercury fillings. Mercury is probably, keep this in mind, the second most toxic thing on Earth to humans except for plutonium. So plutonium is the most toxic, mercury is the second. But we're walking around with these chunks of mercury in our mouths. Now, the dentists swear that these mercury fillings are fine and they don't harm us. And, you know, the American Dental Association are probably going to give me some nasty emails over this. But, you know, they swear, oh, nothing to see here. Everything's good. These things aren't harmful. Think of the class action lawsuits if they agreed that it was damaging your body. So anyway, whatever. Let them say that. That's fine. No worries. But when I have a dentist that tell me they're fine, and they swear they've never shown to cause problems, I ask them this, and I say, think of it this way. So when this mercury filling, when this shows up to your office, it just like shows up in an envelope. Oh no, it's in like a biohazard container. And when you take it out of this container, do you just take it out like with your hands and no big deal? Oh no, we have to have special precautions, and you know there has to be venting and there's oxygen content. We have to be all masked up. It's completely biotoxic. Okay, well then when you take the tooth out, you just like throw it down in the trash. Oh no, it has to like it has to be kept in track of, and you know there's special precautions are taken, and you know we have to wrap it up, and we have a company that has to come take it away. You know, a biohazard company. Okay, so it shows up. It's a biohazard. It's completely toxic. It's toxic to the point that it crosses my lips. And then when it goes in my mouth, it's perfectly fine. But the second it comes out of my mouth, now it's a biotoxin again. Guys, I'm sorry. I'm just not buying that. These things are allowing mercury to get in our body. I see this every day. I work with a lot of biological dentists who deal specifically for getting mercury toxicity out of the body. So that's another place where we get a lot of heavy metal exposure. But having mercury in your body is one of the things. Imagine this: you have this piece of mercury that breaks off, say, of a filling, or you eat fish, or from a flu vaccine, whatever it is. This mercury gets into your body, and your immune system knows that it's not supposed to be there, so it goes in to try to attack and kill it. You can't kill a piece of mercury. It's an inanimate object. So your immune system tries harder and it keeps attacking and attacking. Now imagine that mercury breaks off and gets lodged in your thyroid gland, which is highly common, by the way. Now that mercury, your immune system will start destroying till pretty soon it's just destroying your thyroid. And your immune system is trying to protect you. Basically, it's just going to keep attacking and attacking until the thyroid becomes the victim. That's one of the beginnings of autoimmune. Lead is another one. 20 out of the 33 major lipsticks that were tested contain harmful amounts of lead. Many other cosmetics do as well. This stuff screws up the way your system works. Lead is in our water supply. It's in old houses. There are several other heavy metals that I don't have time to go into today, but we can cleanse and detox you from these things, and this has to be done really correctly. You have to know what you're doing, or you can make yourself really sick. But if we find metals in your blood, we can do a heavy metal detoxification to remove them. And if we do that, your immune system cannot be so mad all the time, and it can start to calm down. And this can be one of the ways that relieve your autoimmune disease. Now, the next possible cause of autoimmune disease is something that we call stealth infections. Stealth infections, and this is going to be a real shocker when you hear this, but there are things called stealth infections that can keep your system aggravated and on the attack. So remember, we're discussing reasons why your body has decided that your own tissue is not part of you, and it goes and attacks and kills itself. This is autoimmune disease. Many people have an autoimmune component to their disease processes or their loss of health, And so today we're discussing reasons why this may be happening in your body, why your body is turning against itself at an alarming rate, and having toxins and heavy metals like leads, mercury, cadmium, these things in your body is one of the reasons why your immune system is trying to kill itself or trying to kill your own body. So there are 188 known autoimmune diseases, and many people don't even realize they have these happening in your body. What we're doing is we're reviewing some of the unknown causes, some of the co-causes that could be affecting your immune system, causing it to go haywire. So the typical patient is told, we don't know why you have these things happening in your body. And the truth is, there are known causes. You're not just unlucky and you caught Crohn's disease or rheumatoid arthritis or Hashimoto's disease. Your body is attacking itself for a reason, and today we're discussing the why. We covered heavy metals and toxins, and right after the break, I'm going to go through something we call stealth infections and cell wall deficiency bacteria. Now, if you have health problems and you want to give me a call and find out if I can help you, and I'll give you a call back personally this week to discuss if my program might be right for you, you can call my office at 837-7174. That's 837-7174. And I will call you back Monday to see if I can help you. If you're in the New Iberia area and you would like Dr. Fontenot to give you a call as well, you can call their office at 367-2567. That's our New Iberia location. So it's 837-7174 in Lafayette. That's my clinic. And it's 367-2567 in New Iberia. That's Dr. Fontenot's clinic. He's fantastic as well. So stealth infections, this is going to blow your mind when we get back from break. Welcome back to Get Well Acadiana with Dr. Kevin. So I'm going to get right at it because we're running short on time already on this show. There's so much to go over and this is so complicated. So the next thing we look into is we're trying to determine why you have lost your health is something we call stealth infections. It is very likely that you have infections in your body that you don't even know are happening that can cause your immune system to stay mad and get madder and madder and keep killing. We call these low-level stealth infections that get into your system. So what happens, we get a virus or a bacteria that gets into our body that your system doesn't recognize or that your immune system can't kill off or that hides in places where your immune system can't get to it. So these are infections that your immune system can't reach, either physically or it's too big to kill. I'll give you an example is a root canal. Old root canals are the perfect place for these stealth infections to get down in, and they get deep in the recesses of that tooth where the body can't get to them, and you get this slow drip, drip, drip of infection out into your blood, and your immune system can never get in there and kill it. So they'll get deep into the body where your immune system can't recognize, and you get this slow drip, 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 and your immune system gets madder and madder and madder because it can't kill it. Old surgeries can do this. Any deep recesses of the bone in your body can do this. There are many deep recesses and deep crevices in your body where these stealth infections can hide. And your immune system will get madder and madder and madder. Dental work is a great place. Old surgeries are a great place. So that's one of the things we look at. The other thing we look at really quickly is something we call cell wall deficient bacteria. Cell wall deficient bacteria create chaos in your body, and this is why. Bacteria have a protein wall, and in that protein wall, it's coded as to what that is. So your white blood cell bumps into a bacterial wall and it plugs into it like a computer and it reads the code and it says, this is staph, this is strep, this is mono. And then your white blood cell completely engulfs and surrounds and swallows that bad bacteria up whole. So it's completely contained inside that white cell. It would be like me wrapping a trash bag around the whole thing so that it can kill it. So imagine I take a vase that I want to break and I put it in a trash bag first and I break it with a hammer. So all those pieces are contained. Now, antibiotics respond differently. They're more like a missile. What an antibiotic does is it comes in, firing in, and it blasts right through the bacteria. It would be like me taking that glass vase and shooting it with a rifle with no trash bag. There would be shards of glass blow everywhere. This is what antibiotics do to bacteria. It's like a missile. The antibiotics split through the bacteria and pieces of it go flying everywhere. Now, some of those bacteria are still viable, but they have lost their cell wall. It's like their cell wall has been shot off, basically. But it can still harm you. So now we have a cell wall deficient bacteria roaming around your body. Your immune system looks at it and it says, what's that? And it tries to plug into the cell wall and it can't. So it can't kill it. So this cell wall that it tries to plug into, it can't recognize. The immune system gets totally confused and the whole system collapses in on itself. And so it gets confused and decides to just kill and kill and kill. Now, that cell wall deficient bacteria can even bind with certain tissue. Maybe it gets inside of one of your own cells and uses its cell wall. And next thing you know, your immune system is in total chaos. It's reading your cell wall, but it knows it's not one of your cells and it knows something is wrong. This is one of the hallmarks of what starts autoimmune disease. And you might think to yourself, well, I haven't taken antibiotics in years. Maybe I've never taken them. 80% of the antibiotics produced in our country goes in our food supply. They're giving it to the animals, they're putting it in their food, and that's what the animals are eating. That's where most of the antibiotics we consume are coming from. So you taking antibiotics just like for one round of having an infection is not the problem. You're taking antibiotics into your body every single day whenever you're eating. Doctors in the States have not yet caught up to this research about cell wall deficient bacteria. Many American doctors have never even heard about this. You hear a lot of doctors outside of the States, like in Germany and Switzerland, talking about this. So we read a lot of research from them. Now, I didn't even have time to get into leaky gut syndrome. I didn't have time to get into several other reasons why your body may have I didn't get a chance to talk about food sensitivities. So I'm out of time, but there are lots of reasons why your body could be developing these autoimmunes. Now, my purpose is to help as many people as possible live a better life without drugs or surgery. I jump out of bed with a mission of finding solutions to today's health concerns. And so today, I hope you'll have been able to understand there are reasons why these things are occurring in your body. I've been on a 20-year quest to solve these complex metabolic diseases and chronic conditions without drugs or surgery. If you have a condition going on, don't ignore it. Don't just manage it. Let's look for ways that we can finally find a solution so that you can live a long, healthy life. If you want me to personally call you this week and talk to you about your health problems, call my office and leave your name and number and your condition, and I will call you back. When I get to the office Monday, I'll call you personally. If I can't help you, I won't waste your time. My office number is 837-7174. That's 837-7174. The New Iberia location is 367-2567, or you can get all of that information on our Facebook at the Bryant Wellness Institutes. This has been Get Well Acadiana. I'm out of time and I've enjoyed the show. I'm Dr. Kevin, Senior Vice President of Bryant Wellness Institutes. Thank you guys. Have a great weekend.